Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and start building your wealth.
So tonight's class, guys, we'll go ahead and start. It is on corporate prospecting. It's something I used to do. I didn't do it for a lot of time because I really just didn't like the traditional business so much. I preferred working with my investors, but it was a really, really good technique. So fundamentally, what you want to write down is this. It's a combination of corporate prospecting and uh, working and canvassing a neighborhood with door knocking. Now, I personally don't advocate door knocking. I know people do it a lot. I know KW used to promote it. This is my personal belief is that you don't know who you're going to get on the other side of the door. Okay, so if you ever go door knocking, you should go with another person at a minimum, right? But here's what we like to do. Okay, so let's say you select a neighborhood that you want to canvass and you want to dominate that neighborhood. I'm going to give you more insight here in a second on how do you actually determine that, all right? How do you determine which neighborhood? Um, what we actually do is this. When we determine a neighborhood we're going to canvass, all right, and it should be somewhere between 200 and 300 homes on average. You can make it much bigger, okay? If you want, you're just going to be working a lot more. And you can make it smaller, but you're not going to get the same results, all right? So if you have between 200 and 300 homes, that's quite a bit of people, right? And you should get some listings out of that every year. So what we do is we do walk around the neighborhood on typically a Saturday or Sunday. You've got to determine based on your neighborhood, when are people more active? When are they outdoors more? Okay. Walking dogs, playing with children, washing cars, cutting grass, raking leaves, normally warmer weather type activities. All right. You're not going to have a lot of success going around in the snow, and it's not going to be a lot of fun either. But in any case, what we do is this: we look for people who are outdoors, and we have material with us. I like booklets. You can use flyers. Okay, we've done both; they both work. And what you do is, whenever you see people who are outdoors, raking leaves, cutting grass, washing the car, and so forth, just walk up and approach them. Say, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I mean, your name, of course. I live near the area, and I have clients who are interested in buying in this neighborhood. Notice there's really not a lot for sale, and I decided to do research and find out why. And I've got some good, meaningful data on housing in your area. So I made these booklets for everybody, considering we're essentially neighbors. Here's your copy. Doesn't cost anything. I'm not asking you to buy or sell your home. I just want to share this with you. And if you like it, I'll do it on maybe every quarter, something like that. Is that okay? Most people are going to say, okay. We'll take your booklet and say, sure, we'll see you next time. That's what you do. If somebody's not outdoors, not on the porch, anything like that, we don't suggest that you door knock. You can take your booklet and roll it up and stick it in the jamb, the door jamb, or in the storm door, inside the storm door. You can even go down to there's a garage with a man door. Use like a blue painter's tape that easily comes off, and tape it to their doorknob of a man door, like because in a garage when they drive down, they're going to see it, right? But whatever you do, do not leave it in the mailbox. That's actually illegal, so you can't do that. Okay. Um, in any case, that's basically how we overcome the obstacle of door knocking. Right. So far, everybody with me so far on this? We're not actually door knocking. We're looking for real people. Okay, good. Now I'll get back to that in a minute to go over some scripting. But first thing is first. How do you actually select a neighborhood? So let's get some input here. If you could do me a favor, just type in how do you select the neighborhood you're going to canvass? If you want to really master that neighborhood, how do you actually determine the neighborhood? Just type in what you would normally do. Some people say, well, I just make it my neighborhood. Or make it the neighborhood down the road from me because it's a new development. Been there 5 or 10 years or almost complete. Whatever it is, I just want to see how people are normally determining how you canvass a neighborhood. Actually, do this. Do me a favor. Raise your hand if you've ever done this before. If you ever canvassed a neighborhood, you walk around, once a year, or twice a year, or 3 times a year, or 4 times a year. Some people do it monthly. If you've ever done that before, okay, good. So The key is to have something meaningful and relevant that people actually want, right? So, in any case, look, but back to the selection. So Anita Davis, good to see you, Anita. Anita, if you could tell me, how did you
Same
actually
here.
select your neighborhood?
I'm sorry.
How did you actually select your neighborhood?
I just started walking close to home.
Yeah.
Um, because I've done it before, because I've had magazines that I used to give out. Not the booklet, but magazines I used to, have, you know, created for me. And just started walking around and I'd go as far as I could. Sometimes I would even drive my car and get out, like if it's a few blocks down, I'll drive my car, get out, and then walk around there. So that's how I've done it before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually the most common way. People, if it's not their neighborhood, it's one close by that they really like, you know. Nothing wrong with that, guys, but I'm going to give you the exact steps to follow if you really want to be the most successful you can be at this. Number one, it just starts with a little bit of research on the MLS. Okay. So here's the first thing you do on your MLS. You want to run some reports. Basically, you can run one report for, let's just say, your town or your zip code, better yet, do like a zip code. Okay. And the report is going to be sold properties in the last year. Sold properties in the last year by zip code. Okay. Now, what you want to do is this. Is everybody here familiar with the area code? Not the phone number, 3-digit area code, but the area code that's in your MLS. It's different than a zip code. It's usually a smaller area than a zip code. Area code is normally somebody called the area field. It's normally the same, it's synonymous with a neighborhood or a development. Anybody recall seeing that before? Yeah, it's like 4 digits, 5 digits, something like that. So what you want to do is you want to sort that report by the area field. And here's what this will do. It'll tell you within a zip code which neighborhoods have the most sales. You can sort it. Once you have it sorted by area code, do it, the most to the least, the most sales to the least sales. So the area in your zip code that had the most sales last year will pop up to the top. That's going to give you a little bit of an idea of the volume of sales in the neighborhood. Does that make sense, guys? Because like Kathy put in her comment, you want to have a neighborhood where there's some turnover, right? That's what you want. Okay. So far, so good. Just do like a hand raise or a thumbs up if you're following me so far. Real simple, basic stuff. Okay. Now, the next thing you want to do is you actually want to determine if there's any one agent or one or two or three agents that actually are already dominating that neighborhood. And here's how you do that. You sort it now by the listing agent name. Okay. So if you see one agent, let's say there's 30 sales in the year, and there's one agent that has 10 of them, and the other 20 are scattered among, 15 different agents. Okay. Clearly, that one agent has what's called market dominance. They penetrated the market. They probably live there. They've probably been doing something like this for years. Like they send out calendars every year. They send out happy anniversary cards, happy birthday cards, happy Easter cards, happy Hanukkah cards, right? Happy Passover cards, happy, Merry Christmas cards. All those things they send out on a regular basis. Recipes, things like that. They're sending out a lot of stuff to get that to basically canvass the neighborhood and maintain, establish and maintain front of mind presence. So here's the question. When you have somebody that has like that, say 30% market share, could you still try to work that market? Or is it better to find another market where there's not one person that has dominance in the market? Maybe there's two or three agents that are doing pretty good, but there's not one single person. There's not it's not a trick question. I just want to see what you guys think. Would you rather go up against one person that has clear market dominance? Would you rather go up against two or three agents that are sharing collectively? You could say they're doing better than everybody else. Which one would you say would give you better odds of success? You're going to type in your answer, or PF says two to three agents, and PF would be correct. Okay. Whenever you have a market that already has market, if somebody has the lion's share of the market share, you're going to have a hard time. Most people will say, we've been using Sally because she's been here for 30 years, just like us. And we always recommend people to Sally because Sally's been here 30 years and she's really good. And look around, all the signs have Sally's name on them. you know? So it's not just that Sally has the signage, right? So people drive by and see your name all the time, but she clearly has loyalty in that neighborhood. And it's going to be hard to shake that loose. You'll get some business there. And by the way, if you've ever done this before, I would suggest that you don't be surprised if Sally actually gives you a call and asks you, "What the heck do you think you're doing? This is my neighborhood." You know. So, in any case, it really is in our neighborhood, but I know what she's saying. I mean, that could happen. But my theory is this: especially if you're starting out, you want to take the path of least resistance. So once you determine 3, 4, or 5 neighborhoods that have, fairly high turnover, like there's a lot of sales, and you do your homework, go to the neighborhood, one of the neighborhood or neighborhoods where there's not one person dominating the market already. 2 or 3 people that have some, 5 listings each, and everybody else has the other, one apiece or something. You can go in there and you can make a really big splash. All right. So, everybody with me so far? Okay. Now here's where the rubber meets the road. Sally, the example I was given, if anybody's on here named Sally, please forgive me. I'm just using the name as an example, right? Um, Sally's using older school traditional methods, sending stuff in the mail. I get it. Sometimes people are glad they know they're going to get a 4th of July card from Sally with a recipe for cupcakes. They're glad to have it. They put it on the refrigerator. You do the magnet thing and all that. Um, Sally may have started out though years ago actually walking the neighborhood, and that's what I want you to do. Okay, so before you spend a lot of money on magnets and postcards and all that kind of stuff, what I want you to do is actually walk the neighborhood first and meet people. Let them see you in person. You dress appropriately. You don't want to be wearing a suit, probably, and you probably do want to wear sneakers. But wear nice slacks, whatever, a golf shirt if you're a guy. If you're female, I mean, you've got a lot more to select from, and I'm not going to get into what you might want to wear because with whatever you feel confident in and professional, okay? Confident, professional. If you feel comfortable, it's probably okay. All right. Hang on one second. My allergies are kicking. All right. Now here's the kicker. Instead of you handing out business cards, which I do not recommend, I mean, you can have a business card attached to something else. But here's the 2 most common things you can use to take with you. One of them is a flyer that's back to front. Okay, use both sides of the flyer. Make it color and make it at least there are different grades of glossy. Make it at least like a minimum gloss level. So it's looks it's stiffer, looks higher quality, that kind of thing. Now, I'm first going to show you actually a version of a booklet. It's one I actually showed you 2 weeks ago when we were teaching a different class on booklet. And then from there, you can kind of, make that into a flyer if you want. So let me show you the booklet that Mo created years ago. All right, so let's do share. All right, so this is Modupe. We call her Mo. Mo's on the team. She's has recently moved from St. Louis down to the DFW area, Dallas area. Okay, so first things first. If you're working a well-defined neighborhood, like a neighborhood that's 1 or 2 entrances in, this neighborhood, by the way, I think has several thousand homes. But if you notice, it's got a great marquee out front. Riverwood Estates, all brick, flower. I mean, it looks pretty awesome. That's what you want to put on the cover of your booklet. Okay. Put that on there because guess what? Everybody that sees this, where are their eyes going to go to first? The picture of the marquee, Riverwood Estates, because it's their neighborhood. They have a sense of pride. They also have a sense of curiosity. What's in this booklet that says, "Welcome home, Riverwood Estates"? I mean, I've seen a lot of booklets over the years, but would you guys agree? It's a great looking cover. I mean, if you live there, wouldn't you at least be curious about what's on the inside? So, in any case, going forward, the first thing people see when they open it up is this: fourth quarter real estate info for Riverwood Estates. Big, bold letters. Well, one thing I will tell you that I would instruct you to do is Modupe has all the contact information on the front cover. Absolutely paramount. But I'm going to tell you guys, if you put that on every single page, okay, your success rate will go up. So even though it's not on this second page here, I do suggest you put that on every single page, your name and your contact information, all the legal stuff, put it at the bottom of every single page, okay? Now, after that, she tells people what this is about. Why do you want to read this? Why do you want to take a look at this booklet? Okay. And in there, you can see she gives her phone number again. If you tell people, hey, just call me Mo, she puts her phone number in there. And by the way, I'm going to make sure Sugar puts this in the email tomorrow. Okay. Um, now she puts her contact there for there you go at the very bottom. Hot diggity dog. Good for Mo. Okay, now let's get into the actual data itself. Everything in here you're actually getting from your MLS, and your MLS is going to allow you to create spreadsheets. You can take data and reformat it. You can download it in different formats. I suggest you just do a simple table. She did essentially a CMA format because it's already there. Every MLS has it. So instead of you creating something from scratch, I really encourage you to just use what your MLS offers. Most MLSs, in fact, almost all MLSs were created by CoreLogic. All right, there's like four basic MLS platforms in existence, but there's like 404 installations of those four systems, those four platforms, because you can customize their platforms if you're an MLS. But in any case, you just want to give the full data. You want to give the address, the neighborhood, which is the area again, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, square feet, lot size, the age of the house, right? The date it's sold, cost per foot of the sale, days on market. By the way, look at this neighborhood, guys. Most of the days on market are single digits. Look at that. 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 5 days. There's one that's 119. Probably there's something wrong with that property. So, in any case, 4 days, 11 days. Here's one that's sort of in the middle of the road, 63 days. List price and the sold price. So you get the actual percentage, right? The comparison of sale price versus list price, which is pretty awesome. In some cases, you sell for greater than list price. And this is fourth quarter of 2020. So things hadn't really gotten crazy yet. They had just were starting with the pandemic in the world of real estate, right? But it wasn't 2021, 2022, or 2023 yet. It was just the beginning. And look at those days on market. I think Mo did an excellent job selecting her area. Would you guys agree? I mean, who wouldn't want to have listings that they're selling an average of a week? You know. In any case, this is the kind of stuff you put in there. All right. Um, then you sold it in a year by subdivision. Okay. So you can give them that view, right? Then you give them the summary, basically the market report, right? Given that, whatever your CMA provides, that's essentially what you're doing, right? That's why it's really important that you narrow this down, select by what's called the area field, right? It's going to be big enough to have enough data, but small enough to be very meaningful to whoever lives in that area, right? And here's their call to action. Now, here's a change I would make to this. Instead of saying want to know how much your home is worth, what should we actually say there? What question should we ask these consumers? Not what your home is worth, but what should we ask them? Just type in your answer, or you can unmute yourself and call it out. And see if this is a memory test, because some of you have actually heard this before. It's just been a couple years. So any brave souls want to call it out what they think the answer is? Everybody's quiet. Okay. You want me to tell you what the answer is?
Whatever a buyer's willing to pay for it.
That's pretty much it, Sean. Thank you. You can say what your home would sell for, right? But I like what you said. Find out what buyers would pay for your house today. That's what I would say. Would you like to find out what your house would sell for today? Something like that. Because it's an embedded command. asking what your home is worth is not an embedded command, right? But basically sell your house is that's the embedded command. They're gonna it has a subconscious imprint. In any case, then you offer them something for free, give them a call to action, say, look, it doesn't cost you a dime to find that out. Let's find out. Give me a call. So in any case, that's the booklet. Now I don't have a copy of the flyer readily available. I'll see if I can dig it up. Um, but it wasn't where I thought it was earlier when I was grabbing this booklet here. But the flyer, guys, is very simply a condensed version of the booklet. It's a one-page flyer, use the back and the front. And here's what you want to put on the flyer. Definitely a much smaller intro, but your picture for sure, your contact information, right? And what you want to give them is simply this: the solds, the active, right? The solds, the pending, and the active listings. What's sold in the last 3 months? What's sold in the last 6 months? Whatever your market will bear. What's currently pending, right? Which is under contract, followed by what are active? What are the active listings? And you'll know you're in the right neighborhood when the section on sold is much bigger than what's pending, and definitely much bigger than what's actively listed. In fact, David Evers had a neighborhood where when he did his flyer, he did the flyer, so the booklet. There were plenty of solds. There were a handful of actives, and there were a handful of pendings, and there were 0 active listings at the same time Mo did this. And that's how you know we're in the right neighborhood. Okay. So, in any case, that's the booklet there. You're all going to get this in email tomorrow. And if I can find the flyer, I will include that as well. But so far, any questions on the booklet? Any questions on what you're actually going to give people? Let me go back to the class here.
Are you okay
Hey,
with us putting it on Canva and glum it up from there?
absolutely. Yeah, we're taking Sugar has the assignment of taking the team booklet, the one we use as the template, and putting that on Canva and modernizing it. So it might take, I just told her just by the end of the month. So we should have it in a couple of weeks. In fact, I think anybody that's already in EXP, if you're not in EXP, you may want to get an account with Canva. If you're already EXP, you already got it for free. But Canva is it's a newer, better tool. It creates some amazing products, Now, here's one of the kickers for you. The cost of these things obviously has gone up like everything else. Now, flyers clearly going to be less expensive than a booklet. But I can tell you statistically, when we measure the results, the booklet actually has a better conversion rate than the flyer. Okay. But it's your choice. You have to check with your local Staples, Office Depot. I wouldn't make a booklet that's more than 10 pages because it's not necessary. If you make it too big and too much, sometimes people put it on the counter, they never get to it, but if you make it short enough, they feel it, and they're like, you know what, I can get through this in 5 minutes. That's what you want to have. So probably 5 pages minimum and no more than 10. That would be my suggestion on the booklet. The flyer, obviously, it's 1 page back and front.
And Gary, you mail these out?
No, you're going to hand them
You
out
mean-
when you go to your circle prospecting, when you're
Okay.
walking the neighborhood.
Walk in the neighborhood and handing them out.
Exactly. Now, here's how we do it. I'm going to save you a little bit of grief here. When you're new to a neighborhood, like you haven't canvassed this neighborhood before, they don't have any idea who you are, you never sold a house there, you want to do the entire neighborhood in a weekend. And I suggest you do it like right now in the month of April, which is why we're doing the class right now. Okay. Do it in the month of April. So if you're way down south, if you're like South Texas or any of the smile states, yeah, you can go out and, whatever you want. You can go out in March. In fact, I would recommend go out in March if you can. But if you live up in like, Wisconsin or, North Dakota, a place like that, where there's still snow on the ground, I would just wait, guys. Wait till April. Way up northern Michigan, it could be May, but
Yeah.
you make the judgment. But the first time around is the most expensive time you'll ever have, and you want to hit every single home. It might take you 2 days. You can do it in a day. Believe it or not, we've had people doing 300 homes in a day. But you got to, start at 9 in the morning, and you got to have some stamina, because it might take you till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Because guess what's going to happen? When you stop to shake hands with people and you talk about the booklet, what's likely to happen probably half the time? What's going to ensue? A conversation. That's a good thing, a very good thing. So your job here is to be the bus driver, and don't let the conversation run away from you. If you spend a half hour with somebody, it's way too long. The key is, what do you say? How do you say it? So let's say you meet somebody. Now, in most cases, they're going to say, "Well, thank you for doing this," and they'll thank you for the booklet. But sometimes it'll be non-committal. If you say, "Look, I'm probably going to do this periodically. I don't have a plan yet, but if you don't mind, if I have updates, I'll give them to you too." Most people say, "Sure, that's fine." They're going to want to get back to washing the car. But the people who want to talk, run the gamut from, "Well, where do you live? Lee, how far do you live? How'd you hear about this neighborhood? Do you have children too? Did you grow up here? Did you go to all that?" It's just conversational type stuff. You got to try to reel it in a little bit. Say, "You know what? I live right down the road. I'm in the next neighborhood. I've always liked this neighborhood. That's why I'm here, because my clients, they want to be in this neighborhood. That's why I did the research. That's why I'm here with the booklet." Um, I've got a bunch of these to hand out, but if you'd like, I can come back tomorrow. If you need any information, is there anything I can help you with information wise? Maybe you've been looking for, or didn't know that you had the ability to ask someone like me. And you're taking control. Does that make sense, guys? Like you're being the bus driver, politely, professionally, but you're keeping pulling things back to the intent of what you're doing there. Now, every now and then you're going to get lucky. Somebody can say, "This is so ironic. I just found out the neighbors, the Wilsons around the corner, they just found out they got to move. Everybody's so sad. We're having a big picnic next weekend. You can really talk to the Wilsons." So when you go to the Wilsons, you can say, "I just met, Bob Smith around the corner. I understand you're looking at moving. I'm so sorry. I know this is a wonderful neighborhood, which is why I'm here. I did research on the neighborhood because I have clients who want to live here. If you're interested, I can introduce you to some of these clients, right?" So in any case, clearly you want to, set an appointment. Um, very, I would say almost always, um, be careful what you say and how fast you move. Some people will say, "Well, yes, we do need to sell. We just haven't had time to even think about it. It's all so fast." And you say, "You know what? How about if I come back later? I'll bring some information on selling a home, what it takes, what's involved. Nothing pushy, nothing salesy, just information that you need to make critical decisions here. Would you like me to do that?" Hi, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching a recording of the Monday Night Live class. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. I'm sure you will. I wanted to let you know that, you can come to Monday Night Live whenever you want, but you can also participate more with the team. Why don't you set up a call with me, a one-on-one strategy call? I can go over everything with you, show you everything that we have to offer. For example, did you know that on our team, not only do you get your leads, we actually give you your own account on our lead gen system. So this puts you in control. You're not waiting on somebody to hand you leads. You get to pick the ones you want. Okay. Huge difference. We have 21 of our own proprietary marketing campaigns. They're all copyright protected. We're the only ones that can use them. Okay. The coaching is absolutely one-on-one. We got 3 coaches. We even have a 4th success coach that we have access to. Okay. One of left fewer than 100 in the world. Okay. One-on-one coaching. Right now the big problem is volume. We need more transactions. We need more inventory. I get it. Well, we know how to get it. Our team actually outproduces the national average by more than 2 to 1. So if you're struggling, don't do that anymore. If you're a solo agent, if you're a team, let's just talk. Smart entrepreneurs are always open to discussion. Learn what we have to offer, and then you can make an informed decision about staying where you are or moving on. You've got to decide, if you're not where you want to be, you've got to take action to get where you want to be. Let's see how we can help you do that. I look forward to talking to you. Click on the link, set up a call, and by the way, I'll see you on the next Monday Night Live. That's the kind of thing you do. Now, over time, what we might do is have some of the information with you. So when that kind of conversation pops up, you're prepared. You can say, you know what, I actually have some information with me right now. Here's a booklet, 10 things to know when you sell a house, 10 things you have to do before you sell your house, you know. Um, how to get the most money out of your house. There's all kinds of material you can give them. In fact, on our website, remember on the EDU site, guys, remember the book tab? In there, there's books working with investors, and there's also books that are open source books. And one of them happens to be, you know, top 10 tips of selling a house, right? And you might even want the one for buying a house wherever they're going to move to, and you can get a referral out of that, right? But in any case, be prepared so when you hand them something like that right on the spot, remember, what's the statistic for clients? How many real estate agents do they interview before they decide who they're going to list with? How many agents do people normally meet with? How many what's the percentage of people that go with the first agent that they see? What's that percentage? Does anybody know?
I think it's
Very
at
high.
least 75 to 80%.
85 to 87%. That means the vast majority of time, you got the deal. Just be there, show up, you know. It's amazing. That's an amazing statistic, So in any case, be prepared. I can't guarantee you when that's going to happen. It's like baseball. You don't know what pitch you're going to hit, but that's why you keep stepping up to the plate and swinging the bat, right? You have to. This effort takes some real effort and energy. Now, here's the best news of all. You only have to canvass the entire neighborhood once a year, right? What you do in the interim, and I like to suggest you do this once a month. You do it bi-weekly during the peak months, May through August. Do it bi-weekly, but at least on a monthly basis until it gets too darn cold, nobody's going to do anything. Is this every month after the month you first did the entire neighborhood? These are things you want to write down and take notes on. You'll get the recording tomorrow, but this is like the meat and potatoes of the technique. You want to do a new CMA, but all you want to do is this. You want to communicate what the changes have been since did the last one, the last either update or the original, what we call a walkabout, by the way. We call that a walkabout in your canvassing neighborhood. What you're going to do is you're going to create the booklets or flyers only for the homes immediately around the home that had a change. So a home that had a change is one that was actively listed before and now is under agreement, or it was under agreement and it actually closed with the closing, right? Or it's a brand new active listing. So wherever there's a change from the last time around, you want to create booklets indicating the changes. You do the same pages, but what you do, guys, before you go to the copier, right? You can do this in your software too. Do like a yellow highlighter and circle the properties that have changed wherever there's a change. Do it with the technology like Canva. Don't do it yourself. It's going to look like you did it yourself, right? But do that. And the best part of all is this is, on average, you only want to hit the 25 homes around the homes that had a change. We might only have one property sold, another listing came up, and one went under agreement. That's only 75 homes versus 300. You can do that in 3 hours, easily, right? And all you do is you go around to the people, the homes around the one that sold or got listed or went under contract. The same thing. Just say, hey, I want to give you an update since the last month. Here's what happened in your neighborhood. And the one around the corner and down the street has sold. This has the listing price, the sale price, the square footage, price per foot, everything about the property that you can see. So you can draw your own conclusions and make your own comparisons. Do that. Now, here's what I recommend for the people that are not there at their home. They're either indoors or they're just not there. You put a little yellow sticky on it and say, hi, it's Lisa, hi, it's Rose, hi, it's Carl, hi, it's Robin. I promised you I'd give you updates when they occurred. In the last month, those updates are in the booklet here. You can see what's sold, you can see what got listed, and you can see what's now under contract, right? And believe me, they are going to open it up and look at it. And what you do is you roll it up, stick it in the storm door handle, or if you can open a storm door, put it between the storm door and the front door. If you don't have a storm door at all, just wedge it between the doorknob and the jamb. It won't go anywhere, right? Um, where you can do that down, around the side of the house if they have a man door by the garage, something like that. But that's what you do. You do that every month while homes are still actively being listed and sold. But again, I'd say honestly, for me, once Thanksgiving hit, I never did that stuff in the between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I didn't do it in January or February either. But in March, I was kind of getting out there. I was starting to get out there, not as much as April, but in April, you want to have this stuff ready to go. And I mean, you've got to move fast because we're not the only smart people on the planet. There are other agents out there who are probably not the gusto that you have, but they are sending things in the mail, right? You're going to beat them to the punch because these people are going to see you in person in their neighborhood. They're going to see you again a month later. They're going to see you again a month later. And over a period of a year, you're going to have name and face recognition in that neighborhood and just keep going. I know agents who've worked in the same neighborhoods for 30 or more years and are still doing this, right? It's easy money. It's in the beginning, it's work. You got to establish yourself, just like on a baseball team, they don't take just anybody that walks in off the street. You gotta start playing as a kid. You gotta play club ball and have high school ball and all that. Just get in the game and keep going. And probably within a year, certainly within 3 years, it's going to be your neighborhood, guys. You know. In any case, I kind of went long on that last part, but what I'm looking for now is I just want to see if you have a what you feel like is a good understanding of this technique, the essence of it, why we do it the way we do it, how we do it. Is everybody just give me a hand raise? If you're really good on this, give me a thumbs up or a hand raise. Hey, I got it. This makes total sense. But if you have a question, remember this class is about you. Just please, let me know. Unmute yourself, put it in the chat box, raise your hand. Let's go over it. One thing is that sometimes I'll get is objections or concerns like what if this happens? What if that happens? Um, like for example, who lives near a neighborhood where there's an HOA and right out front it says no soliciting? Anybody ever have one of those? Okay. Now, did you do what I do and put your sign right in front of their sign that says no soliciting? I wouldn't do that. I'm just kidding. But miraculously, that sign happened to be down for maintenance that day. I don't know. But here's what I recommend. It all depends. Depends on your mojo, where you are in the country. Some states are stricter than others. And if it's a gated neighborhood, clearly just move on, right? But you know what? In the booklet, I'm not offering to sell anything. I'm not knocking on anybody's door, right? I'm just giving them information on real estate in their neighborhood. Well, I can make the case that I'm not soliciting. I'm not bugging people. I'm not asking for a donation. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm giving them information. I've never once had anybody tell me to stop what I was doing. Not one. You know, so that's usually one of the objections that I hear from people or the concerns. But um, are there any others?
Gary, if nobody's home, you just stick it in the door.
Yeah.
You ring the doorbell, you knock, you try to introduce yourself, you give them the booklet if they're there, and if they're not, you stick it in the door and go to the next one.
I do not knock on doors or do not ring doorbells.
Oh,
No.
don't knock on doors or ring doorbells.
Yeah.
Just go up and put it in the door.
Yeah. Now you can knock if there's no law that says you can't knock. But if
Okay.
it's a no soliciting neighborhood, I definitely would not knock.
Okay.
Now, having said that, Kate, it's a great question because here's something that does come up sometimes. In the warmer months, particularly the nicer ones, fall and spring, you ever walk up to a home and the storm door, of course, shut, but the main front door is open? You walk up to it and there's somebody in the kitchen and they turn to see you, right? And they'll either do like this, like, hey, wait 1 second, or they might do like this, like, what's this about? And you just hold up your booklet. But if they give the wait 1 second, just hang on, let them come to the door. That's okay. But remember that there is real risk to this stuff, guys, and I'm not trying to deter you from the technique. The reason I'm doing door knock is there's risk out there. You don't know who's on the other side of the door. That's why I don't like door knocking. Plain and simple. It's just not worth the risk. I don't care. You could get a great sale out of it, but if you come in harm's way, is it worth it? No. So why do it? That's why I'm not a fan of door knocking. I do agree with people going out in pairs. I'm okay with that. If you go out in a typically a couple, male, female couple, right? I know married couples that have done this too. But if you're going out there to door knock, go with somebody else. The reason you want to have a male and a female is because, who's going to be behind the door? You don't know. It could be a male or a female. But either way, they're going to feel more comfortable because they see both of you standing there, somewhat dressed nicely. Like clearly you're not looking like a terrorist, right? Or hopefully not an action murderer or anything like that. But you're holding some information. Like most people are going to be, curious as to what this is all about. So in that situation, let them come to the door, you know. But if you ever feel it in danger, just trust your instinct, trust your gut. You only do this during the daytime hours anyways. If you don't feel comfortable, just turn and walk away down to the street, right? Cure yourself first. So, in any case, sorry to go along in that, but Kate, that was a great question. So, if they are there and they see you and they tell you to hang on a second, absolutely, have the conversation. No doubt about it. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Now let's go back to the scenario where somebody says, you know what, this is so ironic you happen to come here today. I just found out I'm being transferred. My daughter wants to move to the area or whatever. You just never know. What I would suggest is this: if you still have more to hand out, and you got a whole day ahead of you, just ask them. Say, you know what? I'd like to prepare for that. I want to help you, but if it's okay with you, I'm going to finish my chore here. I'm going to finish all the handouts. I'm going to go home. I'm going to do some more research to get you the information you need. Is it okay if I come back either at 6 o'clock tonight or 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon? Whatever. Always give them a choice of two options. Don't give them more than two options. You say, I'd come back later today or I come back tomorrow. Let's pick a time and do that and come back and be prepared. Because sometimes they're ready. They just been putting it off. You just happen to show up, at the right time, which happens a lot, by the way. If you do this enough, guys, you're going to have that happen more often than you would think. Um, but in any case, what I'm getting at is this: when you're out there in the activity of, handing these flyers out, you want to stick with the activity because if you find yourself going in right now on that point, number one, you're probably not prepared. You probably don't have your computer with you. You know what I mean? It's just going to chew up valuable clock time. So you might as well give yourself the opportunity to prepare first, find out what it is they want to find out about, and say, great, I have all the information on my computer at home. I have a book that gives you exactly what you need to do to start your home. You get the 10 necessary steps. I'll even show you what the process is, the paperwork process. They all come with the papers. If you decide you want to do it, that's your choice, but at least we'll be prepared. If not, at least it's a learning exercise, right? So that's the kind of language you want to use with people. You want to be the bus driver, um, but and make sure you're kind of giving them call to action, right? You never want to do this. Never ever hand them a business card and say, "Call me when you're ready." Don't ever do that, guys. Do this. Everybody raise your right hand and say, I promise. I promise I will never give control of this to the other person.
I will never give control of this to the other person.
I'm going to set the appointment date and time with that person right now. I'm going to set that appointment date and time with that person right now. That's when you do it. You strike when the iron's hot. Okay. You're in control. In fact, even at the next appointment, you don't get the listing like you thought and they need to think more about it. No worries. You know what? I have more information I think I can give you. Let's do this. Let me give you a couple of days to digest what I just brought you. Can I come over Tuesday after work? Something like that. Always set the next appointment. Okay. Always set the next appointment. So, in any
Hey,
case,
Gary, I've
sure.
found that I've had better luck doing that same thing, even when I'm referring somebody to point them toward like a lender to get them pre-qualified or whatever I got to do. If you leave it in the person's hands, the client's hands, that call never happens. or it gets delayed happening. So I try to stress the verbiage to say, okay, I'll put you in touch with it. No, I'll say, okay, well, I'll put him in touch with you. You'll hear from him in the next couple of days. I don't know his schedule, but great guy. And then I have the lender call the client. Otherwise, what do? You wait a week and then touch back and well, they never called me. I mean, so, do you feel it's an imposition at all to always take charge? I've never felt it's an imposition.
Yeah.
I've had other agents tell me, no, that's kind of imposing. I'm like, I don't think so. And if it is, I don't really care. I'm not trying to be imposing. I'm trying to be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I have the lender call the client, and that gets the
Yep.
ball rolling right away. And then I
Well,
can be, in touch with the lender, say, where are we at?
right. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. And another alternative to that I learned to use over the years is I would do an introduction. So I'm as the referring agent referring to a lender, I'm actually going to control the introduction. So I'll get that person's name and number or name and email, whichever they prefer to give me, hopefully both. I'll say, great, I'm going to do an introduction for you and Rob Parrott, who's one of the lenders that we work with. And I always tell them, by the way, you should probably look at another lender too, as a general rule. Why you'd look at more than one contractor, right? This because this is your covering your butt. You never want to refer somebody to just one service provider, either a title company, lender. Most brokers recommend three, but I would tell you that as long as you did at least two, you can't be any way, shape, or form accused of steering somebody in one direction because you gave them, hey,
Right.
just get another one.
Or if things go sideways at all during the transaction, they're like, well, your guy did this. You sent me
Exactly.
here. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
Well, what I like to do, guys, is some of you have seen me do this in person. Whenever somebody wants to meet somebody on my team, right, and there's another person I know or another vendor or somebody new, what I'll do is I'll do the introduction. I'll do it on text sometimes, and I'll put the contact card for both people, and I'll give the instruction. I'll say, hey, Rob here and Val Pasternak, this is Gary Wilson. Because when you do a group text like that, sometimes if they don't have you saved on their phone, they're not going to, they might not know who you're. All they're listening is two or three phone numbers. So I always tell them, I named each person, then I name myself. Hi, this is Gary Wilson. Please connect with each other regarding a potential loan on Bob's home, right? Please keep me posted on your, your progress. Okay. Then the lender, Jane, knows clearly to make the first contact. Call the person, keep me posted, let me know what's going on. And when you do that, everybody's seen that. Jane's updating Gary that she reached out to Rob, right, for financing his new home. And Rob's going to see that. He's going to know that we're on top of things. That's why I like the joint introduction, right? Instead of doing the handoff, which does work, you could hand it right off to Jane the lender and let her take it from there. But I like knowing what's going on. That's why I do the joint introduction. Works every
I've,
time.
I've, I've done that ever since you did it with me. Yeah, I did it and I liked the way that played out. And I thought that's a simple thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like that as well.
Yeah. And guess whose business card I never hand out? Mm, my own. I don't even have one. You're giving away control. You don't do that. You want to get their information. It's a given. You're going to give them your information. So get their information first. Then you can text them, email them, say pleasure to meet you, which gives you a really good reason to follow up with them. By the way, it's a pleasure to meet you today. This is Gary Wilson. This is my personal cell phone number. Please save it on your phone. And here's something you might be interested in. It's an article I found on selling homes and Wichita campus or wherever they live, something like that. Or if you only got a phone number, you can say, if you can provide me your email, please, I have content I want to send you on selling your home or buying your home, whatever the case is. So now you got their email too. So it's a great way to be the bus driver. Never, ever turn over control of the bus to anybody else. Your job is to put the other people on the right seat on the right bus, right? Make sense? Okay. Okay, any other thoughts or questions? We call it a walkabout because it's not really circle prospecting. That's why we call it a walkabout. And if I'm not mistaken, let me check this real quick. Hang on one second. Um, Marketing. Oh, it is there. Okay, hang on one second. Let me show you this. I'm going to promote. I'm sorry, share my screen. So on the team website, for those of you already on the team, you know this. You go into the marketing tab, and you're going to see right here, circle prospecting, and it's instructions, written instructions, as well as audio video instructions on how to do the technique. It's maybe like a 15-minute video. It's all in there. Okay. That's where you can find it. But I'm going to make sure the book that I gave you an example tonight goes out in tomorrow's email. So as long as you register for class, everybody here right now is live, but anybody that's watching this in recorded mode, as long as you're registered, you're always going to get the email after class, as well as any content. So, in any case, you know what? We may manage to be done here by 8 o'clock Eastern. It almost never happens. I think it's been years since they had it happen. Everybody's going to be afraid to ask questions. But hey, guys, I'll hang on here. If anybody wants me to hang on for any other subject, just let me know. I'll stick around if you have questions. I don't mind at all helping. You know, I want to help you obviously succeed and progress as fast as humanly possible. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave you with a good thought here. I heard this morning on our leadership meeting. And the quote is this: nobody jumps off a fast train. All right. So, beginning of this year, we started off like we were shot out of a cannon. Just on agent attraction alone, 10 people in the agent attraction huddle brought in 30 people. Okay. Isn't that amazing? It's 10 people per month. An average of a person per a new addition to the team, EDXP, per person on the huddle per month. And nobody ever cold called anybody. We didn't do any of that stuff. We just serve people. That's exactly what we do. A couple of them on the call tonight. You know, Rose Michelle's one of them. So in any case, also in production, you guys were quick out of the gate in production too. January is typically slow. February was not as slow, but March took off a little bit earlier than we thought. And now statistically, we just won the top 250 again in the company worldwide, top 250 teams because of you guys, right? You know, remember, I'm not in production. You're the ones bringing the production home, and we won it on volume. That is a super big deal. That's not easy to do, guys. You know, volume was at an all-time low last year, and you guys beat the odds by 40%. You know, so congratulations. Just give yourself a pat on the back. In any case, all right, I'm going to hop off here, and I'm going to admit that I cheated. I bought a whole big giant apple pie on Friday night, and I'm going to have a piece of beautiful apple pie. So in any case, I can't help it. I got such a sweet tooth, but that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to relax for the rest of the night. If you do need anything, you've all got my phone number, my email, and if you haven't set up a one-on-one recently, please set up a one-on-one. Let me help you get going here. So appreciate the guests coming on. Greg, Carl, thanks for joining us. You're welcome to join us. By the way, next week, we're going over listing strategy, how we do that, how you actually get listings, how you determine who you're going to list with, and how you actually conduct the listing. You definitely want to be in that class, and that's definitely one you want to invite guests to. We only do that. Remember, these things usually only get done once a year. So if you want to get the goods on that one, I'd say be here next Monday night. Okay. You guys have an awesome rest of the night. I appreciate you participating. I appreciate the questions, the comments, and I will see you on the one-on-ones, and I will see you on the huddles.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Monday Night Live. Consider subscribing. Agents, want to learn more? Schedule a call with Gary using the link in the description.